So have you been in a situation where you're excited about making more money? You're giddy about making $100,000 a year, making $1 million a year. You've got the right courses. You think that you partner with the right people. You're learning from the correct sources, and you realize I was wrong. So in this episode, I'm going to share with you 5 money hacks from the richest man who ever lived. In this episode of the Wealth and Wisdom series, episode 6, starting in 3, 2, 1. Let's go.
Of a short stopping, now I'm winning like I'm Jeter. Steady through the rigor. Yeah, I'm getting bigger.
What's cracking, everybody? Money Smart Guy Matt Sapala here, hailing to you from Dallas, Texas, and we are in another episode unpacking the book of Proverbs in the Bible. Yes, the Bible. Yes, there's money secrets in the Bible. I'm not sure if you knew that, but from the lens of an entrepreneur, from the lens of a leader, from the lens of somebody who's made money in the business of insurance for the last 23 years, I'm going to share with you what I've learned here by studying and dissecting Proverbs chapter 6, and I want to encourage you too as well to do the same. But before we begin, could you please hit that like button if you found that we've given you any form of value to help you think like a millionaire, strategize like a millionaire, so therefore you can become a first generation cash flow millionaire. Please click subscribe too as well, and that's all we ask. So let's get into it. Episode 6 of chapter 6 of the book of Proverbs. If I'm looking at how to make money, if I'm looking at ways to get ahead financially, one of the greatest ways that I've accelerated my success in business without a college degree, had I known this, I would have been so much further ahead of my decisions and the wealth curve and the success curve of my life. I should not be enjoying my 40s, what I'm enjoying today. I should actually be enjoying it in my 30s had I known these 5 things. So let's talk about the first thing. A foundational verse that I take from this chapter, which is Proverbs chapter 6, verse 6 through 8. Let's read it together. It's about being wise. Let's check this out. Go to the ant, you sluggard. Consider its ways and be wise. It has no commander, no overseer or ruler, yet it stores its provisions in summer and gathers food at harvest. Okay, that's going to be a premise for how other things in this chapter is going to unfold. So let's look at first lesson. Number 1, be wise with who you partner with. Be wise of who you partner with. Let's look at Proverbs chapter 6, verse 1. It reads like this. My son, if you have put up security for your neighbor, if shaken hands with him in pledge for a stranger, you have been trapped by what you said, ensnared by the words of your mouth. So do this, son, to free yourself, since you have fallen into your neighbor's hands. Go to the point of exhaustion and give your neighbor no rest. Allow no sleep to your eyes, no slumber to your eyelids. Free yourself like a gazelle from the hand of the hunter, like a bird from the snare of the fowler. Have you ever co-signed for a car for somebody, co-signed on a personal loan, co-signed for college, co-signed on a credit card? And next thing you know, they didn't do their part. And next thing you know, they skipped a payment, skipped 2 payments, skipped 3 payments. And next thing you know, you find out about it after 3 missed payments. And next thing you know, it negatively affects your credit score. Now, let me give you a quick story about that. I remember one time in 07, 06, who wasn't involved in real estate back then? Everybody's getting involved in real estate. Real estate was the height of the real estate game. They had these loans called Ninja loans. Everybody qualified for it. You know why? Ninja stands for no income, no job, approved. So basically, if you had a pulse, you get qualified for this loan. Anyway, make a long story short, I had good credit and I get qualified for a lot of different things. And I got qualified for 2 4-unit buildings. Okay, 4 units, multifamily apartment buildings. And I remember a friend from church said, listen, Matt, you buy these properties, use your credit, use your down payment, I'll manage the properties and we'll split the equity. I'm like, no problem. I know you from church. You seem like a good guy. I've known you in ministry. We served together. Bump, 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 bump. All good. Next thing you know, 08, 09 hits. Crash. Boom. You know what he says to me? Apparently he got involved in other promises to other people. He said, you know what he says to me? Listen, Matt, the property is worth less than what you owe for it and there's no equity there. So listen, I tell you what, I wash my hands and the properties are yours. I said, whoa, bro, slow your roll. You said you'd fill the apartments with tenants. You said you'd manage the property. You'd have to keep the grass cut, the property upkept, maintenance, etc. So we can split the equity. My credit, my cash down payment, your sweat equity and efforts to fill the apartment bills. No, man, that's all good. You can have it. I got ensnared with the wrong guy. Number 2, what can we learn from the ant? Yes, the ant. Consider the ant. Let's look at Proverbs chapter 6, verse 6 through 8. It reads like this. Go to the ant, you sluggard. Consider its ways and be wise. It has no commander, no overseer or ruler, yet it stores its provisions in summer and gathers its food at harvest. Well, first of all, a couple things that come across my mind right away is the ant doesn't blow its money. The ant doesn't blow its resources. And while everybody's sleeping, while everybody's hibernating during the winter, guess what he's doing? They're harvesting, they're gathering, they're working together. It's interesting how you've never seen the king of the colony of ants, only the queen. Ever notice that? There's no king of the ant colony, only the queen. All the soldiers there, they're here to serve the queen for the greater good of the colony. They work together for a greater good. They're there to work for the queen. They're there to grow their ant colony community, and they're able to work together. And think about the ant too as well. Have you ever seen an ant carry things? You've seen an ant carry like 100 times, 1,000 times its own body. It carries a leaf. It carries, if they all work together, they carry smaller insects that are much more bigger than them for food to feed the rest of the colony. It's a crazy revelation how ants are. So ants, if you are reading the John Maxwell Leadership Bible, here's an illustration how he breaks down leadership lessons from the ant. A stands for attitude of initiative. Ants don't need a commander to tell them to get started. Do you need a commander to tell you to get started? Do you need a commander to tell you to start saving money? Do you need a commander to tell you to start making your own way out there, to start your own business, to plan for your family, to leave an inheritance for your family? Do you need a commander to tell you that? Do you need a commander to tell you need to pay your taxes? Do you need a commander to tell you to invest in other businesses? Do you need a commander to make sure you pay your employees? Do you need a commander? No, those are things that you should already know how to do or get the skill set to know how to do. But nobody tells an ant to do something. It takes initiative, which leads us to N, that has a nature of integrity. Ants work faithfully and need no outside accountability to keep them doing right. They all work together. Side by side, they're working together. Nobody has to say, man, let's go, get out of sleep already. They already know, okay, it's time to get to work. Imagine all your boys. Imagine all your sisters. You don't have to remind them of what the goal is for that day. Everybody shows up to work. Everybody's willing to put in the hours. Everybody's willing to do their job, to do their duty for the greater good of the journey, of the business, of the initiative that they've started. T stands for thirst for industry. Ants work hard and will place their anthill when it gets ruined. Imagine what would happen if I demolished that anthill. Eventually, what would happen again? These ants would gather together and come up and create another way to create that anthill to have an entrance, an exit, and for them to gather food, etc. They worked together. Okay, so let's go to S in the acronym ANTS. A stands for attitude, N stands for nature, T stands for thirst, S stands for source of insight. So when most people are playing, what are people doing in the summertime? They're playing, right? Chicago, they call it the play yard, the playpen in Lake Michigan. What's everybody doing in summertime? Vacationing, doing their things. What are ants doing? They're working. They're gathering provisions. When everybody's playing, they're working. Which, by the way, I'm trying to look for any reference in the Bible of the word vacation. Okay? And my wife and I, we've come to the understanding that, babe, we can detach for a few days here, a few days here, a week here, a couple weeks here, but we don't call it vacation because if you look at the root word vacation, the etymology of the word comes to root words of vaka, which means to remove, and shun, which means from the state of being. So you put the words together. Vacation means to remove yourself from your state of being. Well, my wife and I had a conversation long ago. I said, listen, babe, we want to build a life, but we want to be a part of every day. That we have a business we want to be a part of every day. We have a family we want to be a part of every day. We have a community, a city we want to be a part of every day. We don't need a vacation from that. Sure, we might go for a retreat here or a retreat there to sharpen our skill set and to think on things versus in things. But we don't want a vacation. We don't want to remove ourselves from a state of being. We want to love our life and what God has given us. So consider the lessons learned from an ant. Proverbs chapter 6, verse 9 through 11, it reads like this. How long will you lie there, you sluggard? Won't you get up from your sleep? A little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to rest, and poverty will come on you like a thief, and scarcity like an armed man. Who doesn't have teenagers? I remember my teenagers, man, they love to sleep till noon. That is until I gave them a mission. We wanted them to make sure that they had something to fight for, something to build. Which, by the way, that's why I have so much caution with video games and the meta. I remember times I played video games. And I'm the type of guy that I'm obsessive. And I play my game, which is Madden, NFL, okay? I start playing a game when I get home from work, 7, put the kids in bed, keep playing. I would not go to sleep that night. I'd still be at 6 o'clock, the sun's coming up, Sun went down, sun's come back up, and wife's like, are you still playing that video game? I'm like, yeah. And I'm asking myself, geez, what did this game cost me? It cost me rest, caused me not to get to the work the next day, and didn't cause me to work at my optimal best mentally, and obviously the conversation I need to have today to advance our business forward. What did it cost me to play video games? What did it cost me to detach myself and go into a play fantasy, a play world? But bottom line, whether it's the real world or the virtual world, bottom line, are you lazy in both worlds? And if you are, you're not going to get rich. You're not going to be prosperous. You're not going to be wealthy. You're not going to be happy. And so consider avoiding laziness at all costs. So if you realize you've been a little bit lazy, put in the comment section below, I am refusing to be lazy. Put in the comment section below this affirmation. I am refusing to be lazy. This is God's hate list. These are things that God despises. Let's look at Proverbs chapter 6, verse 12 through 15. It reads like this. A troublemaker and a villain who goes about with a corrupt mouth, who winks maliciously with his eyes, signals with his feet, and motions with his fingers, who plots evil with deceit in his heart, he always stirs up conflict. Therefore, disaster will overtake him in an instant. He will suddenly be destroyed without remedy. Whoo! Some pretty serious words there. So let's look at the indicators to look for. Number one, look for somebody that has crooked speech. They talk in circles. They devise evil. Instead of devising good, they're plotting. They're conspiring to conspire. Or they're sowing conflict in the community. The reason why I look at news differently, because even though I've been in the media and we share a message in the media, but for the majority of the news that I hear, there is no news. What I see is an agenda. What I see is propaganda. What I see is two sides, right and the left. By the way, that's why I'm always looking at the right, looking at the left, so therefore I can formulate my own position. What King Solomon says are not worthwhile relationships, they're worthless relationships, so steer away from them. And last but not least, warnings of lust and desire. What are we talking about? Let's look at Proverbs chapter 6, verse 20 to 24. It reads like this. My son, when you walk, they will guide you. When you sleep, they will watch over you. When you awake, they will speak to you. For this command is a lamp. This teaching is a light. And correction and instruction are the way to life. Keeping you from your neighbor's wife, from the smooth talk of a wayward woman. Again, another reference about women in his Bible, which I don't think King Solomon is saying a literal woman, but again, he's talking to his sons, which a lot of young men, they understand it for the context of understanding women. Or the metaphor is lusting after another man's possessions. Like it's intense. Like I really want what they have. I really want his wife. I really want their stuff. I really want their house. I really want their things. And you're lustful after it. But there's nothing wrong with desire. There's a lot of things I desire. God has given you desires. You know, the scripture talks about God wants you to enjoy the desires of your heart, but it becomes to lust when it's causing you to sin. There's an overbearance of that when it says if you're breaking the law and you're causing adultery, you're wanting to sleep with another man's wife. Listen, man, a lot of things in the Bible you should already see. A lot of things in the Bible are created with conflict because of sex. People sleeping around. Matter of fact, Solomon's the guy that we're learning from, King Solomon, who we've been learning from in the Wealth and Wisdom series. We've been learning from a guy that after a period of time, he started marrying a bunch of women. He had 700 wives and 300 concubines, 1,000 women in his life. We'll read about it in Ecclesiastes, the downfall of King Solomon, the richest man and wisest man who ever lived, who didn't follow his own counsel, but he's warnings to his son, watch out. And it's not necessarily a woman he's talking about. He was using a woman as a metaphor, but more about specifically a woman. If you want to make sure you avoid a specific type of woman, you want to marry the right woman, you want to avoid the wrong woman, more of that in the next chapter, chapter 7, episode 7, where we talk about an adulterous woman. But in the meantime, so as I wrap up, I want to fast forward here to verse 32. Let's read it together. But a man who commits adultery has no sense. Whoever does so destroys himself. Blows and disgrace are his lot, and his shame will never be wiped away. For jealousy arouses a husband's fury, and he will show no mercy when he takes revenge. He will not accept any compensation. He will refuse a bribe, however great it is. Listen, guys, I've been in that situation. I've been uncomfortable. Think about right now. Think about this right now. You're married, you're together, and your wife sleeps around. Your husband sleeps around. How's that marriage looking? Think about this too as well. Somebody steals from your business and you say, okay, let me still accept you as a partner. You stole from a business, but it's okay, I'll have you back. At the end of the day, do you really trust that partner? He stole from you once. He stole from you once. You really, I'm sorry, I forget. It'll not happen again. You don't cut him out. You don't cut, listen, you got to go. As heartbreaking as that might be, you don't cut them out, guess what you set yourself up for the next time around? Would a board of directors approve a partner in that business to steal from the business? No, dude, that dude is out. But why would you do this by yourself? That's why people despise discipline and accountability. But yet, it's the same thing, discipline and accountability, that keeps you above water and gets you to a path of wealth, prosperity, and happiness. You may not like it in the meantime, but I promise you, according to Scripture, according to King Solomon's words and wisdom, you may despise discipline. You may despise following this checklist of how to avoid the wrong relationships. You might have to cut some people out and add the right people in. You may not like it in the meantime, but you'll love the results if you're dead set on making sure that you create a legacy for your last name, that you would say you want to become a first-generation cash flow millionaire, and that you want to make sure that you bless your family and the people in your community that you love and care about. Consider heeding the words of wisdom from King Solomon. But before I let you go, please check out the other episodes here of the Wealth and Wisdom series 1 through 5, episodes 1 through 5, because for the next 31 weeks, we're going to dissect the biggest lessons learned about wealth, wisdom, and prosperity on every chapter in the book of Proverbs for the next 31 weeks. 31 chapters, 31 weeks. That being said, please post your thoughts, your questions, your comments in the comment section below. And if you're watching this on Facebook, make sure you click like and follow our Facebook page, Money Smart Guy. And if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you click like, subscribe, and hit notifications to be alerted the next time we upload our next episode. From Dallas, Texas, I'm your Money Smart Guy. And until we meet again, continue to live smart, continue to love smart, and continue to be money smart today.